Everybody you admire that has done something significant has more stories of failure than success.
John Enelamah is a widely traveled apostolic leader, social reformer, pastor, teacher, mentor, discipler of men and women, and author of several books. John's global life purpose is to assist individuals to find their purpose, strengthen the local church globally, and to help nations transform. He achieves all of these by preaching the gospel of the kingdom, thereby spreading the fires of revival and reformation. John's drive is to see God's will manifested in the lives of people, and that men and women all over the world should come to the knowledge of God's truth. He has preached in countries, cities, and places all over the world with one message, and that is the gospel of the kingdom. His primary driving force is to live a life that contributes to the fulfillment of the Great Commission. John is the president/founder of the Kingdom Apostolic Revival Ministries, KARM. He's also the founding pastor of End Times Revival Ministries, ERM, and a co-founder of the Apostles in the Marketplace Network. John is the host of the radio program Lessons from the School of Life. He and his amazing wife, Ngozi, also run the Institute for Success in Marriage program, which hosts the Marriage Works and Love Works sessions for both the married and singles respectively. John, a graduate of quantity surveying from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria, obtained his ministerial license from Spirit Life Bible College, Irvine, California, and is a fellow of the Aspen Global Leadership Network. Get set to receive the word of God from the mouth of his servant with Jesus' joy in your heart. Join me as we make welcome the ministry of John Enelamah.
Welcome to the Brothers Weekend Conference 2026. Thank you, Brother Zephaniah, and the leadership team, all the members of the leadership team, for the opportunity to speak to us on the theme, the becoming of a mighty man. It's a privilege. Most of us, if not all of us, have not met in person, but I hope that one of these days that we can meet. I hope you can give me your rapt attention. I know I'm speaking to the Joint Christian Body of University of Nigeria, Nsukka Campus, JCB-UNN. My name is John Enelamah, and it's my privilege to speak to you about money and finance, and I hope that God will help us in Jesus' mighty name. So, I am speaking to you today on your finance as a mighty man. And I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Unfortunately, this is how we are going to function today. So my first question is money. What is money? I always like to teach on the fundamentals. The fundamentals. So I wish I could, I wish you could, we could connect to each other in a more physical way. But I want to ask you, if you had the opportunity to go to school, which you have had, and you had to choose only one form of education or one level of education, it's either preschool or kindergarten or nursery, as we call it, or primary or junior secondary or senior secondary, or a first degree or advanced degree. If in this life you had only opportunity for one, which one would you choose and why? Would you choose preschool, nursery, or kindergarten, or primary school? Or would you choose secondary, junior secondary, or senior secondary? Or you choose to come to Nsukka and have a first degree? Or will you come back for a master's or a PhD program? Which one will you choose? Well, write down your answers to yourself, and maybe before the end, I would give you an answer. So, what is money? So, why I ask that question is because I deal with the fundamentals. the fundamentals. By the way, maybe I should give you the answer up front so I don't forget. The answer is primary. Why primary? Because of the primacy of primary. Primacy of primary. Primary means fundamental, means primary. So today, I'll be thinking of the primary or the primacy of money and finances as you prepare to go into life. So what is money? Money is an item or record that people accept as a medium of exchange for goods and services and debts. It acts as a shared tool to measure and trade value without needing to barter. Because before money, there was trading by barter. But before we go to that, let's see, we ask what are the key functions of money? Well, one is that it's a medium of exchange to buy goods, sell goods. Money is a unit of account. Money is a store of value. But before there was money, there's what we call trade by. Do you know what is planning? Do you have any financial plan? What is planning? Do you have any plan for your life? Does God have any plan for your life? What is planning? Well, let's look at planning. Planning is activity allocated or assigned to time. And planning is also time assigned to activity. Planning is predetermining future events. Can a man plan his future? Can a man know the future? Can you know where you're going to work? Can you know whom you're going to marry? Can you know where you're going to spend the rest of your life? Is it possible for a man to know the future? Have you ever thought about that? Well, that's not our subject today. It's something that I love to treat someday, but here is what I like to say. Man was created in the image of God, and therefore man was created to function like God. So man is a God with a lowercase g. That's why Jesus said, did he not call them gods on whom the word came? The ability to know the future, see the future, is a God ability granted only to mankind in all of God's creation. So God can plan. God can predict the future. And if man is made in the image of God, man ought to be able to predict the future, but only particularly in alignment with God. Barter. Trade by barter is the direct exchange of goods and services without using money. That means that you must have a way. It's a complex system because there are so many things that have to be established for you to do trade and barter. But we can't get into all that today. So let's even move forward. So before money, there was trade by barter. And people use different things to trade for different things. The person that had tomatoes traded with the person that had palm oil. But the challenge would be, how do you know I need tomatoes if you have tomatoes? And how do you know I need palm oil if you're selling palm oil? But with money, I just enter the market. So it's a very powerful thing. So now, do you understand money? Do you understand money? I want to ask you, do you understand money? What does money mean to you? The Bible has a lot to say about money. It said that money answereth all things. Is it possible to be righteous and poor? Which means to be righteously poor. Is it possible to be a servant of God and poor? Is it possible to be honest and poor? Is it possible to be a man of character and still lack money and be poor? That's why I'm asking, do you understand money? Because the prophet in the Bible, nobody doubted the authenticity of his prophetic ministry. But he died in debt. He died, and the widow was in trouble, was in financial trouble, and yet he was a man of God. Throughout the discussions about him, nobody said, this man is a bad man, this man is a false prophet. This was a genuine and authentic prophet, and yet he died intestate. No money, no will, nothing. And the wife had to deal with his issues. So, in order to understand money, we have to say, do you even plan? God. So I want to ask you, do you have a plan? Do you have a plan for your life? When are you graduating? In what class will you graduate? What will you do with the rest of your life? You cannot know the future like God does, but you can know the future. It's called a word of wisdom, a word of knowledge, not the whole knowledge, but a word of it. You can. So as you are continue with your education. Those of us who are graduating, those of us who are coming into final year, those of us who are in our first year, going to second year, those going to third year, and so on and so forth. Is there a plan? Have you ever sat down with God to think about your life? So my first question, or my main question is, do you have a plan? Do you know God's plan for your life? Do you know God's purpose for your life? Because there is a level of contentment and fulfillment that you cannot have in this life unless you understand God's plan and you're aligned to God's plan. Fulfillment in life, being fulfilled, contented with life, being satisfied, is not a function of what you have or what you don't have. It's a function of alignment to God's agenda for your life. Because if having things is what brings peace and joy and fulfillment, then you have suicide in places like Hollywood, and you won't have it among the rich, and you won't have divorce cases. But I can tell you that the wealthier people divorce their spouses faster and more than people that have less in life. Because material things is not the key. Alignment is the key, and yet you need material things. So do you have a plan? Now, let's move it forward. Do you have a financial plan? Are you a student? You may not, your parents may be dead. You may not even have a sponsor, but that doesn't stop you from having a financial plan. A financial plan is a plan. A plan is a plan. A plan is looking into the future and attempting to predict the future. So somebody says, but I don't have any sponsors. That's not the point. Do you have a plan? What is a plan? A plan is, how much money do I need to go to school? Where will the money come from? Even if I'm not sure. When I have the money, how will I spend the money? How will I make sure that I'm not stranded? You say, but I don't have any money. That's not the point. Planning, you don't need money to plan. God didn't need money to create the earth. The Bible said, God said, let there be light. And there was light. So what is a financial plan? Well, a financial plan has many components. It's sitting down to think through the future. Think about what is needed by you, how much that is precisely, where the money will come from, how that money will be managed, how to make sure the money is sustained, how to make sure you're not living above your means, that you're not spending more than you're making. Somebody say, but I make zero. You still have to plan. Why do you make zero? That could be lack of planning. You say, no, but Nigeria is difficult. But you're not Mr. Nigeria. You're not even Mr. Anambra State. You're not Mr. Enugu State. You're just one person. The Bible says you shall be like the tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruits in his season, and his leaves also shall not wither. Whatsoever he doeth, matapatadaya, shall prosper. Your economy is not determined by natural sources or consequences alone. You are connected to heaven. And heaven has unlimited supply of everything you need in this life. My God shall supply all my needs according to his riches in glory. Not according to riches in Enugu or Nsukka or Nigeria or Japan. Help doesn't come from abroad. It comes from above. So do you have a financial plan? And then there are some basic fundamental questions all of us must answer. But a financial plan is a written step-by-step guide that details your current situation financially, your future goals financially, and how you use your income, savings, and investment to reach those goals. Somebody says, I don't have any money. How can I talk about investments, income, and savings? Do you believe in God? Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him. God himself shall direct your steps. My friend, trust. Trust is an active word. The only person we should really trust in life is God. Why? Because trust means reliance and reliability on something. Trust in the Lord, not with some of your heart, with all of your heart. Have implicit, absolute faith in God. Why? God is faithful. God cannot fail. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but his word shall abide forever. Have faith in God. Have faith in God. So plan financially. You can plan, and God says, give me all your money. That's fine. But have a plan. Don't be empty-headed. Don't be walking about without an agenda, because God himself is a God of agenda. It's just that your agenda must always be a subset of God's agenda. Your purpose is a subset of God's purpose. In other words, you have no purpose of your own. Your purpose is attached, aligned to God's purpose, because He's the God of purpose. So the reason you are born is inside the purpose of God. There is a reason. Okay, but some fundamental question. Number one, how do you make money? How do you make money? A question everybody must answer for themselves. If you're going to become a mighty man financially, if you're going to understand the nature of money, if you're not going to die in poverty, remember that poverty is not synonymous with God. Poverty is a state of the mind. Poverty is a mindset. Poverty is not because of what you have or what you don't have. Poverty is because of the way you think and therefore the way you act. Because you think thoughts, you believe in them, you act them, and they produce results. If you're going to change the result, you have to change the thought. Because the starting point of all creativity and creation is thought. And thought is a thing. Thought is substantial. Thought is tangible. In the word of God, thoughts are things. He that looketh on a woman to lust after her in his heart is an adulterer. It's a thought, but it's an action in heaven. So open secrets on earth are open scandals, they say, in heaven. So to change your life, you have to change your thinking. In the New Living Translation of the Bible, in Romans chapter 12 verse 2, God says, he said, don't copy the behavior of this world. Romans chapter 12 verse 2, NLT, New Living Translation, do not copy the behavior of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. God cannot change me until He changes the way I think. So what do you think about money?